Welcome, everyone, to the Live Long podcast. My name is Katie Kosev. So excited to chat with Dr. Wei Wu He today, the Executive Chairman of Human Longevity, Inc. Dr. He, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Katie. Nice meeting you.
Hi, it's wonderful to meet you. I'm excited to jump right into the conversation. So I'm just going to ask you a really general question, which is tell me more about human longevity and what the company does.
Yeah. Actually, Human Longevity was founded by Dr. Craig Venter. The scientist actually pioneered the decoding of the human genome. And Dr. Craig Venter, basically, after the genome is decoded, he envisioned a future of data-driven preventative medicine based on genome, based on we call phenotype. So we can actually turn the current healthcare model from a sick care model to a disease risk care model. So the company was founded in 2013, and we have now been around for 12 years, and we have served more than 10,000 people, and over $500 million has been invested into this platform. And this is really the a very exciting time that we think a lot of the major, especially the age-related chronic diseases, can be discovered much, much early before it does damage to us. So we are witnessing an era of genomic technology, imaging technology, proteomics technology, married with AI, so we can actually predict, what kind of disease will affect us in the future, and and implement a procedure so we can delay these diseases for many years to come. In the sense, adding another 10, 20 years to your healthy, lifespan to
It's
everybody.
it's so interesting to me to take away from sick care because that's what I'm a 40 almost 5-year-old woman, and my entire life has been like you wait, you get sick, and then you go and you hope that the doctor knows what to give you, like more medication, right? So it's so interesting to see companies like this, and so many are opening, and I think there's a real difference between yours, Human Longevity, and others. So if you could kind of go into what those differences are, that would help a lot.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you a little bit my background. I grew up with my grandmother, in China, because my mom was sent to the countryside during the Cultural Revolution. And, but unfortunately, one day, my grandmother is almost like my mother. It's the most loving human being I can recall, when I was growing up. And unfortunately, she had a bleeding. She went to the hospital and never came back. And she was diagnosed with a late cervical cancer. Uh, so if you look at cervical cancer as an example, historically in the 1950s, there are 14,000 women die of cervical cancer in the United States. But with technology innovation, less than 4,000 people today die from cervical cancer. So went from 14,000, dropped almost 80 some percent in cervical cancer deaths, mainly because of the discovery that cervical cancer is caused by a virus called HPV. And now we have pap smears, molecular testing, plus vaccine. So the, it's a technology innovation to reduce cervical cancer. And although in developed nation, the death rate for cervical cancer has dropped significantly, but globally, there's still 400,000 women dies of cervical cancer every year. Uh, so, so there's two challenges in longevity, right? If you die of a cervical cancer at 60, you don't have longevity. Okay, so one is technology innovation, one is communication to 8 billion people. But I will focus a little bit on technology innovation. I actually truly believe today, if you look at the top 5 diseases, kills 80, 90% of American. Number one, cardiovascular disease. Number two, cancer. Number three is unintentional accident. Number four is either respiratory diseases or Alzheimer's disease. Then actually it's diabetes. So if you add all these top five, six diseases, it actually kills 80 to 90% of Americans. So in America, about 3 million people die every year, but they don't die of old age exhaustion. They die of diseases. Okay. So we always say, what we are building today is the first thing, the low hanging fruit of first thing is don't die of preventable diseases. Don't die of pancreatic cancer like Steve Jobs died of pancreatic cancer at 56. The CEO of YouTube died of lung cancer at 56. You look at the Black Panther actor, Boseman died of a colon cancer at 43. And we actually now know probably Boseman has a genetic, risk for colon cancer because his brother Kevin also is diagnosed with colon cancer in the 40s. So, but these with the technology we are putting together, these are all preventable. So for colon cancer, there's a disease called Lynch syndrome. If you're born with dual genome sequencing, we already know you have a Lynch syndrome. So you actually don't you people with Lynch syndrome has to do colonoscopy in their 30s, not in their 40s. Like today's medical guideline is 40 something, 45, I believe. Bozeman will be dead if he listened to today's medical guideline. So today's medical guideline is for statistics, but when it comes to you as a person, you need to have individualized risk management. This is what human longevity is trying to do.
And is that what does this look like for a person like me? Because this is a conversation. I'm getting older, my friends are getting older. Some have had cancer, have died from cancer, and these are things that we all know could have been preventative, but they had to wait to notice a little something
Yeah.
going on in their life that made them go to the doctor and get checked, and then it was too far. So, I mean, what does it look like when somebody steps into human longevity? Like,
Oh, yeah. So,
tell me more. Yeah.
Katie, if you become our member right now, we're almost mostly self-paid, and
Mhm.
also we have corporations like the Capital Group, the Illumina of the world. They pay for some of their senior, it's
Right.
an executive health program basically. So you sign up with our program and you come to our clinic. You spend only about 5 hours in our clinic. So we will draw a few tubes of your blood. We will do actually a whole body MRI on you to scan your whole body. So from your blood, we will decode your whole genome. So because there's 6 billion code, right? 3 billion from your father, 3 billion from your mother, and the 6 billion code tells you a lot about your information. The So when you combine all these data, okay, we kind of already know your risk factor for the top five diseases, right? Because
Right.
let's say my biggest risk is a stroke. So actually, it's cardiovascular. So if I knew my risk, just like Charlie Munger always said, if he knew where he is going to die and he's never going to go there, right? So
Yeah.
if somebody know that they are going to have a heart attack in 5 years, it's actually totally preventable. You can put a stand, you can do a bridge, you can do whatever it takes to prevent your heart attack, right? But if you don't know about it, suddenly, you actually have a heart attack, like the CEO of Samsung last year at 62 died of a massive heart attack. So it's a major disruption for a corporation that their CEO suddenly dropped dead and with no planning. So, but that's totally preventable, right? So from your genetics, from your blood marker, from your imaging, now there's FDA approved, CTA test to look at every single plaque in your artery. Uh, if you under our care, you actually will have a hard time to have a heart attack because we will tell you, you have a blockage of you. And I worked on prostate cancer for God knows 40 years. I don't think no man should die of prostate cancer anymore. because
Oh,
you after you decode the genome, we already know your genetic risk factor. So there's actually a New England Journal of Medicine paper showing that the top 10 percentile of genetic risk people, about 40% of them, when they get to age 55, 60, will have prostate cancer. But this 40% will be missed by traditional PSA and MRI test because the
oh,
traditional, the current medical guideline is testing PSA, maybe MRI, followed by MRI. They would have missed 40% of the people has high genetic risk factor. So when you combine genetics, protein marker like PSA, and then imaging, I think today it's very difficult to miss a stage one, stage two prostate cancer. Because here's a number. If you detect your prostate cancer at stage one or stage two, your 5-year survival is almost 100%.
oh.
But if you detect your prostate cancer at stage four, your 5-year survival is less than 50%. That means half of the men, if they detect their prostate cancer at stage four, they will drop dead within 5 years. Breast cancer is even more shocking. Breast cancer detected at stage one, it's 99 point some percent 5-year survival. But if you caught your breast cancer at stage four, it's only 28% 5-year survival. That means 70% of the women, if they missed their stage one breast cancer, 70% of them won't survive over 5 years. And they won't have longevity because their Achilles heel is breast cancer. But if you caught it, like Angelina Jolie, for instance, is
Mhm.
she, as far as I'm concerned, she's my hero because she's willing to talk about it. She's
Yeah.
because nobody kind of understand her family has a genetic you know risk, a gene called BRCA1. So
Mhm.
she has a high risk for breast cancer, but if she did her genome sequencing at birth, that when she's born, she already have a very high risk gene for breast cancer. So she's very brave to talk about it. She obviously took action to prevent it. So breast cancer and ovarian cancer will no longer be Angelina Jolie's, Achilles heel
Mhm.
to prevent her from living to maybe 100 years old, right? Like for my
Yeah.
grandmother, her cervical cancer is her, you know,
Mhm.
the biggest risk at 63. She died at age 63. But she's
Yeah.
very healthy, very robust grandmother. If she avoided cervical cancer, she probably would live to 80, 90 years old, right? Now, if we find the next biggest risk, let's say dementia is her next biggest risk, and you start to prevent it 10 years ahead of time, you probably will push dementia, forward, another 10 years. Then we are really living to 90 and 100. That's really the science we're putting together. Longevity is a science. 200 years ago, the average human life expectancy is 30 years. But
Yeah.
at that time, 200 years ago, most of humans get killed by infectious diseases, right? So over the last 200 years, it's the invention of antibiotics,
Mhm.
antiviral, vaccine, better understanding of infectious diseases extended the global average life expectancy. I actually think in the next 20 years, we really, really need to delay age-related chronic diseases, cardiovascular disease, cancer, dementia, diabetes, metabolic
Mhm.
diseases. If we delay, because these are the diseases affecting even a lot of people in developed nation, because the American diet is not really a great diet for metabolic balance.
Mhm.
I'm so addicted to longevity science. When I was in college, I followed a professor. He's the most famous longevity professor, Dr. Zheng Ji. He actually lived to 110. He actually
Oh,
proposed, yeah, if you Google the oldest living professor, actually Zhenji is one of them,
I will.
at ZHANGJIE, so he lived to 110. His most important longevity theory is we have to achieve metabolic balance. So if you have diabetes, you are not in metabolic balance. This is why I think today the drugs like GLP-1 is such a revolution. I think for people who has a lot of Americans with metabolic imbalance, GLP-1 might actually be a longevity
Absolutely.
intervention. If
Wow.
somebody is 300 pounds and there's really not much they can do, using will to change their diet and all that, intervention like GLP-1 is amazing, right? So we have seen cases in our cohort that when they lose 100 pounds, every marker become normal. Like the LDL gets better, their blood pressure gets better, the hemoglobin 1c, the glucose level gets balanced. It's just amazing. But for some of the client, they will never have the discipline to lose 100 pounds
Mhm.
without the intervention. So these to me are all the upcoming intervention that will add 20, 30 years to our life.
That's so fascinating. You brought up to dementia, which is, something that my grandmother and grandfather suffered from. Is there testing like
Oh,
initially to
absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt. We are actually developing tests like that, because this is, another aspect of why we're so excited and we feel like it's the time to do it is actually AI, neural network. So, neural network is amazing because, everybody probably know the a software called AlphaGo, which actually beat, Lee Sedol, the number one, Go player in the world, because by using neural network, you can basically a machine or AI software can actually outsmart a human being, right?
yeah.
So when you have, you know, terabytes of data on you, let's say, Katie, if you came to my clinic for 3 years, I
Mhm.
have, almost half a terabytes of data on you. Okay.
Wow.
I have your genomic data. I have your protein, like, Alzheimer's disease is already an FDA approved biomarker. It's a phosphorylated tau. And then you add other marker like GFAP and other protein into it. You can have a panel protein. Then we do imaging on you. So we look at, your brain, compartmental change, like for instance, hippocampus. If the
Mhm.
hippocampus volume start to decline, we will assign a score to you, say, hey, you are either in the bottom 10 percentile of the dementia risk or the top 10 percentile of dementia risk. For the top 10, especially people has genes like ApoE4, which is it's a very well-known gene for dementia, for Alzheimer's. We may actually recommend you to take action. There's a lot of action you can do. One is, metabolic balance is actually one, diabetic people in general has much higher risk for dementia. So maybe, get on to a balanced metabolic, lifestyle is it will delay your dementia. But there's actually beautiful data now start to seeing, from Eli Lilly, the word, the monoclonal antibody approved for late stage dementia probably will have much, much better result when you treated the patient early. Because you don't want to wait until the neuron is dead to treat the patient, right?
Right.
Because you can't rescue a heart attack patient after the patient is dead for 3 hours.
That is true.
But if you actually was able, if the patient is in emergency room 3 hours before the heart attack, this patient most likely will survive, right? So the future of intervention is all about finding your risk and intervene earlier, right? That's
Listen,
really
it's
the
so interesting to me because I just don't understand why traditional healthcare hasn't caught up as I find myself like I'm searching, I'm Googling, it's telling me to go to other countries. And it's just so lovely to know that there are people like you that are accessible here to me that can help with these things initially. And I wanted to get your recommendation for families who are thinking about this and thinking about the future. What do you recommend for like their children? Is this testing need to be happening upon birth, like you said prior?
I did all my kids. Okay, so I think my son,
Really?
when he's 12 years old, went through whole genome sequencing and the whole body MI and all that. His biggest risk is actually he likes to eat American junk food too much. So
That is a risk.
he had high liver fat and high visceral fat. But after daddy nagging him, a little bit, he started to play soccer and all that. So his liver fat is down because you know most people didn't realize uh, corner the atherosclerosis happens in 20-year-old. I mean, this
Wow.
is what they discovered early on during the Korean War. They did a biopsy on some of these young soldiers, and they already saw plaques in the blood vessel in their 20s. So if your diet is totally messed up, the plaque really start to form in your 20s, 30s. Now you have a heart attack in your 50s, but the real reason that you have a heart attack is the risk is being accumulated, over the years when you are young. So if you really want to live long, I think the easiest way is to do it early. Understand your genetics, understand everything, right? So I think all 8 billion people should have their genome sequenced. There's plenty of genetic mutation that if you intervene earlier, it will change your life. For instance, there's a gene called PKU. If you actually have that mutation, if you don't change your diet, your IQ will be really low. So there's not even
Wow,
a
really?
chance you'll graduate from high school. But one of my physician's son, obviously my physician understand this really well. So his son had a PKU, and you just have to have a very well controlled protein diet. And her son went to Stanford. So
Wow, that's
by
fascinating.
knowing the genetics and just modify the diet, her son actually went to Stanford undergraduate. It just tells you it's so important to understand our own biology to
Wow.
live healthier, meaningful, and productive, right? Because if you're a low IQ kid, you can't go to Stanford, right? So
Right.
that's really that's I think that's I personally think the medicine is moving that way, whether we like it or not. Because trying to live long and healthy, that's intrinsic to our human genetic makeup.
Right.
Human being always like to live longer and healthier. A few people may don't want to, but I would say majority of human being, if the tools and technologies are there, human being in general wants to live longer, healthy, productive, right? So that's really
Yeah.
and I think this is only the very, very beginning of a blue ocean.
I think
It's
so too.
it's a data-driven, personalized longevity medicine. It's a longevity science, basically.
Let me ask you this. Say, for your typical, well, just human being in general, or a typical American. So we have our insurance and it's already somewhat confusing, and you go to your regular doctor and you hope they know what you hope that they understand or don't just say, oh, you're not feeling well, come back next week. How far are we away from being able to go to our primary physician, like most of us do, for just regular genome testing at our primary physician in our hometown? How far are we out from that?
Well, it's hard to say. Well,
Far.
you can already join us. So,
Exactly. That's much more
yeah.
convenient. It's ready.
As a matter of fact, our program, you can use your, the annual, because what is that program? You call it HSA? You
Yeah, your
some
HSA.
money.
Uh-huh.
You can use HSA to pay for our annual physical. And we should be coming up with a product which is probably less than $2,000, okay,
Mhm.
a year. Okay, so it starts with a blood test and some wearable. Uh, this is coming.
That's
So
fascinating. I saw that on
less
your
than
website. That's very cool.
less than $2,000. It's less than $200 a month. Uh,
Hmm.
and it's only going to get cheaper and cheaper. So when we started human longevity, the whole genome sequencing was still $10,000. That's why
Wow.
early on, our program was 20 some thousand dollars. But now
Hmm.
the whole genome sequencing cost is, a clinical grade whole genome sequencing is a little bit over $1,000 now. So, obviously, whole body MI is still expensive if you want to do it right. You don't want to do the
Right.
cheap whole body MI. You want to do
A
you
good
know,
one.
right. It's
Yeah.
still thousands of dollars. So,
Hmm.
but I think, if our predictive algorithm is becoming better and better, we probably initially don't have to do the imaging, which is the most expensive part, and then the
Hmm.
cost will really come down.
That's nice.
So
That's
we
nice to
probably,
hear.
yeah. So we will probably launch a product like that, in 2026.
Oh, that's good news. Okay. We'll be on the lookout for
But
that. I want
but
to
it,
ask. Go ahead. Go ahead.
so we actually trying to get a CPT code for whole genome sequencing. So if we get that, I think that will be the first movement to get our medical insurance to cover our whole genome sequencing.
Oh, that would be great. And the fact that it's not already is just so fascinating to me. But I'm excited. So thank you
Well,
for
the
pushing
number
that.
is, because I personally think all 8 billion people on Earth should have their genome sequenced,
100%.
even if it
Mhm.
costs $1,000. Because if you live 100 years, you only need to sequence your genome once, right? So
Yeah.
it's $10. If you live 100 years, $1,000, it's only $10 a year. I
That's
always say if
affordable.
you skip one, McDonald or maybe two McDonald, you will have your genome sequenced per year. Okay. And if you skip two McDonald's, you will be healthier. Okay.
You may go to Stanford.
Yeah, that's right. You may go to Stanford, right? So that's the science behind, human longevity. I think next 10, 20 years, it will be so exciting. I really think we probably will rewrite the textbook of medicine
Yeah.
because the current textbook doesn't have all the genomics, all these AI algorithm behind it. But in next 20 years, this is going to be absolutely amazing. Yeah.
It's fascinating. Before we wrap, I wanted to ask you one final question, which is, and you've kind of answered this already, but what are you in your position like most excited about when it comes to the science of longevity?
Oh, I still think the low-hanging fruit is, don't die of preventable diseases, right?
Yeah.
So because 90% of Americans are killed by the top 5, 6 diseases. Okay. Just like
Hmm.
200 years ago, probably majority of people are killed by infectious diseases. So
Right.
to me, the immediate low hanging fruit is don't die of cardiovascular disease, don't die of cancer, don't die of dementia, don't die of diabetes. If you actually don't die of those 5, 6 diseases, you probably gain about 10, 20 years out of your life. In 10 to 20 years, I think there's going to be so much revolution. If you look at stem cell is coming, we're seeing some wonderful, wonderful result that using iPS cell, you can
Hmm.
actually, regenerate your retina and people can see again, right? So it's,
Really?
oh yeah,
Wow.
it's absolutely because, your retina is just another organ, right? So if you
Hmm.
regenerate, we already hearing, kidney transplant, heart transplant, lung transplant. You even hear xenotransplant, which Dr. Craig Venter was involved in the Baltimore xenotransplant for heart. Uh, the next wave of technology is be able to replace your organ, right? Because our
Wow.
heart probably can only pump so many times. By the time you're 80, 90
Gets
years old,
tired.
your heart is like a car engine, it's exhausted. But if I
Yeah.
give you a 20-year-old brand new heart, you probably got another 60 years to go, right? It's like
Wow.
I take an old car, I yank out the old engine, I put in brand new engine into it. That engine suddenly now has another 20 years of life, right? So
Wow.
that is coming. And that is really, I'm actually, really falling in love with technology out of Stanford that we can regenerate your skin. I think we probably will make more money on that if I can make your skin 20 years younger. Okay. So
I'll sign up today.
yeah, because your skin is just another organ. Okay.
Yeah.
And if we can reprogram our fibroblast into a stem cell, you should be able to reprogram your skin into a younger cell, right? And the technology seemed to me is there. It's absolutely fascinating. It's a revolution coming. It's a longevity revolution coming. I think in our lifespan, you will see, if people embrace this kind of technology, you will see an average life expectancy probably over 90 years old. Average, I mean average. If you look
Wow.
at, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, they all live over 100. So I always say
Hmm.
the dream life without stem cell, with regenerative medicine, I think everybody should have potential to live over 90 and 100. So the life we're proposing is that what I call Charlie Munger life. You live you live to 99, you enjoy what you do, you're still making money, you're still paying tax, and you go to sleep and you don't wake up, and you don't create any
Perfect.
burden for society, right? So
Yeah.
and that is the dream, the current, our human genome is capable of doing. Now, if we start to use regenerative medicine, uh, you know, who knows? We might live to 120, 130, 150, right? So
Wow.
that's more speculative. But I think don't die of diseases, and being able to healthily live to about 100 years is totally doable. And
Possible.
science will make that happen. Science will help you to make that happen. Like GLP-1, if somebody is
Yeah.
obese, the GLP-1 is a wonderful, wonderful intervention. For President Carter, Jimmy Carter actually got melanoma, in I think around 90 years old. But the good thing is Merck launched a drug called Keytruda, PD-1. He took the drug, the tumor just melted it away. And he never
Really?
died of skin cancer, but he gained extra 10 years because of one drug,
Wow. Isn't
PD-1.
that beautiful?
But all these drugs, PD-1, GLP-1, all these are coming. The drugs to prevent dementia are coming. There's no doubt in my
Wow.
mind, they're all coming. So if you hang there and you know how to use these individually for your own health, there's no doubt in my mind you should live.
I'm hanging in there. Dr. Wei Wu and human longevity, take all my money because I'm ready to stay
No, no, no,
alive
no.
and
Our
so
goal is to
content.
democratize, to make this technology. I don't even make a salary
Yeah.
at Human Longevity. This is like I was fortunate enough to, had a few exit. I don't need to work for a living anymore. This is my passion, is how do we take this, you know, longevity science and really make it available to, inexpensively to 8 billion
Uh-huh.
people,
That's
right?
so beautiful. It's because
Yeah.
it's possible and it's there, yet we
Yeah.
don't all have access. But hearing from people like you today, and you bring such a positive spirit, and boy, are you charismatic. I've never wanted
No,
to talk to
it's
somebody
fun.
about
This is
science and
the
tech longer in my life. This has been great.
I always say after 60, you need to find a career you're willing to work for free.
Hey, that's good advice too.
And
Jotting that one down.
this is why I'm having fun. Yeah,
You're the best. Dr. Wei Wu, thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time and
yeah.
sharing more about human longevity. We really appreciate it. And we hope to get to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. And join our longevity movement, so I'll
Yes,
see
I'm
how
going
many
to.
years we can add it to you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.